to Covering the Fields with your host, Joe Ellison.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Covering the Field, the weekly program that analyzes all sports, handicaps them, and makes predictions. I'm your host, Joe Ellison, and today we're going to talk about pro football, college football and basketball, hockey, the NBA, and our You Got Hosed segment. We'd like to remind you, listeners, to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Please give us your feedback. Tell us your You Got Hosed stories and visit our coveringthefield.com website daily to check out our many articles and our picks of the day and week. Find us on Twitter at Covering Field. Kicking things off this week, I'd like to introduce our football expert, Big Richard Martin. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Joe. How are you doing?
Fantastic. So, Big Rich, what was the big news in the National Football League last week? Let's start with the NFC.
Well, NFC Green Bay clinched the home field advantage. So the road to Super Bowl 56 at SoFi goes through Lambeau Field.
How about Aaron Rodgers, his last 6 games? 18 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Perhaps
he just doesn't turn the ball over, Joe. I mean, he's amazing, and he's definitely the front runner for MVP.
Indeed he is. How about our buddy Antonio Brown before we get to the other teams? What happened with that young man?
Well, he had a meltdown just like our snow-capped mountains are having out here in Nevada. I mean, he's melting down faster than a mountain on a 70-degree day. Looked just like maybe he was just having some type of issues mentally, and it's just sad to see somebody with that much talent just throw it all away.
Yes, he's no longer a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. He just gave the old peace out sign. He missed 8 weeks. He might as well have been out for the season. He had that ankle injury, and then he had that suspension for the fake vaccination card. He said, oh, well, we'll let him back in for the end of the season. And that didn't turn out either.
Yeah, there's red flags all over Antonio Brown, as you know. You look at him, they said he was even waiting for his ride outside the stadium because I think he threw his keys out there with his shoulder pads and his helmet up in the stands. He didn't have a ride home, so he's waiting on an Uber or a friend to pick him up. But just a total mess, and it's sad to see.
Well, it is sad to see. He was asked to go back in the game, and but when he left the field, didn't seem like he had any ankle injury like he said he did. He was doing jumping jacks. That was not a true story. Here's this physically talented player, 7-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, a guy that Tom Brady looks for quite a bit. And now he's not going to be a part of the team. Tampa Bay, now the 3 seed, their outlook doesn't look quite as good.
No, it definitely doesn't, Joe. You look at it, Mike Evans been out with a hamstring injury.
Chris Godwin,
receivers out all year.
Yeah,
It just it's sad to see. They don't look like it was that Chris Goodwin out for the year, and it doesn't look like they're going to have a chance to repeat. Every time you have Tom Brady and a good defense, you have a puncher's chance, but I'm not seeing them get past some of these top teams.
I can never rule Tom Brady out, but. Yes, they're hurting a little bit now. Okay, Arizona beat Dallas. Dallas is now the number 4 seed. Arizona trying to win the division. We'll get into that. Philadelphia also made the playoffs. We're not sure if they're going to be a 6 or a 7.
Right. They clinched the playoff spot. There's one spot open still, and it's either going to be San Francisco or New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
But I look at like these kind of trends going into the playoffs, like who's hot at the right time. It seems like everybody's been on a roller coaster ride this year. They're hot, then they're not. They're hot, then they're not. But you look at Green Bay, they've won 5 straight. The Rams have won 5 straight. The Eagles have won 4 straight, but they do not have Zach Ertz this week, even though they did clinch a spot. And I think you had a good point earlier about their wins have not been against anybody with a winning record.
No, they're 0-6 against teams with a winning record. And they have no reason to win this game coming up this week. They're better off resting all the players.
Right.
How about what happened to
Dallas? I mean, they are guaranteed a home game, and I think that that's a 7-point spread. And I just want to stay away from that because who knows what's going to happen in that game.
Dallas does have an opportunity to move up to as high as a number 2, so they do have something to play for, possibly. we'll see who they put out on the field. How about the AFC? What happened last week in the AFC?
Well, like you said, we look at who's hot and who's not. Kansas City had an 8-game winning streak going into last week's game where they got upset in a huge game. Cincinnati outlasted Kansas City. Joe Burrow had another great game, and now they clinched a spot and to win the AFC North.
Yes, they did. Tennessee now in the number 1 seed. They have won the AFC South by beating Miami pretty handily, 34-3, considering Miami had just been on a 7-game win streak right after a 7-game loss streak, which was pretty amazing. Pretty impressive win for Tennessee.
Exactly. I mean, they're looking really good right now, Joe. I mean, if they beat Houston, they shouldn't have any problem with beating Houston this week. They win that game. They have Derrick Henry in practice this week. I doubt that he plays. He said he's probably most likely out. I don't see him playing him because if they do get the bye, they get that foot another 2 weeks to heal up, and he'll be ready to go for the playoffs. Actually, right now, Tennessee is a 12-1 odds to win the Super Bowl, which I took today. I love it because they have home field advantage. I think Derrick Henry, has been out for probably about the last 7-8 weeks. Even though he has a foot injury, everything else is healed and he's rested. So I think that no one can stop Derrick Henry anyway, but he's rested and he should be ready to go.
I don't mean to brag, but I got as high as 40-1 on Tennessee earlier in the season. So,
well, if you got 41, you deserve to brag on that because that's a good payday.
Yeah, it's got to hit, though. That's the problem.
Right.
Yes.
That's the whole key to betting, sir.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, we talk about the other hot teams. Right now, there's, there's 3 teams that have a 3-game winning streak in the AFC. Buffalo, Cincinnati, and can you tell me the third?
The Raiders, maybe?
Yes, the Raiders.
Yeah.
What a great game they had last week. They've won 3 straight. Everybody wrote them off not to make the playoffs, including me. And then what do? Derek Carr has a great fourth-quarter drive and upset Indy. Great game. Love to see it when the Raiders win. Maybe it had something to do with, John Madden. You think? Maybe you win one for the Gipper or something, I mean,
I should have known. I should have known the Raiders are going to win when John Madden's passing last week. Throw in Indianapolis quarterback Carson Wentz having COVID, not practicing all week. It all makes sense now that the game's over.
Right. And it was really sad for Kansas City, like we mentioned earlier in the Cincinnati game. Now they're not in control if they do get that first week bye. But, I think Kansas City's always they're tough to play anywhere. You play against Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be a tough game.
Without a doubt. Tennessee did beat him pretty good early in the season, but playoff time might be a different story. We must a couple more notes. Big Ben Roethlisberger for Pittsburgh, his last home game, still hanging in there for a playoff spot. Unlikely, but it was a good way for him to go out. And Buffalo and New England won and got playoff berths.
Right.
So what are the
looks
playoff?
Like Buffalo might finally get that chance to be the AFC East champion. They finally might have knocked off the Patriots off their pedestal. They look good. They win this week. They should have a pretty easy game to go ahead and get that done.
Yes, they did win it last year. Of course, that New England team was Cam Newton led, and this team is a much better New England team. But still, yes, Buffalo does need a win. What kind of playoff scenarios are coming into the final week 18?
Well, like we just said,
Yes.
Kansas City, they're in for sure. They've won their division. And then we have a play-in game, which is going to be great. We have the Raiders and the LA Chargers. They'll have a play-in game. If the Raiders win, they're in. And what better place would that be? Just win, baby, for Al Davis, huh? I mean, just win and you're in. And they got themselves into that position. Like we said, Cincinnati's definitely clinching a playoff spot. So we're just waiting for that last spot between the Raiders and the Chargers.
Right. As you said, Green Bay clinched. LA, they could still not win the division, as we mentioned. If Arizona wins, and LA is playing San Francisco, a team that has beaten them 5 straight times. So that is not a sure thing.
That is definitely not a sure thing. They are at home this week, and a lot of experts are saying that the Rams might just rest their starters and just get ready for the playoffs. I don't see that happening. I think the Rams need to come out and win. Like you said, they have. It has been since the 1990s when San Francisco beat the Rams 17 straight times, as we know during that era of Joe Montana and Steve Young. They owned the Rams. And now, I mean, if they're going to be a playoff team, I think we're playing. This is just like playoff football this week.
Right. So all those teams can be the number 2 seed: Tampa Bay, Dallas, and the Rams.
Right. Another.
So that's something to play for.
Cincinnati game. Cincinnati's playing Cleveland. Baker Mayfield, they shut him down for the year. They might have shut him down forever, the way he played against the Steelers this week. And also Joe Burrow says he's not playing. So, the Battle of Ohio, neither starting quarterback will be in those games.
Right. Now, fighting for the number 2 seed, obviously Tennessee and Kansas City, they can get the number 1. Believe it or not, Cincinnati can still get a number 1, even though they're not playing Joe Burrow. But, they're obviously not trying to get the number 1 seed. They're just assuming Kansas City or Tennessee is going to win, which is probably a pretty good assumption. So why not just rest your players? Joe Burrow was limping after the game last week. So probably
he said, he has a knee issue, and he said that he could play if he needed to, but he was also told by the coaching staff he's not going in.
Okay. Buffalo is the 4th seed. They cannot get the number 1, but they do win the division by beating the Jets. So they're certainly trying. New England is not going to assume that's going to happen. They're the number 5 seed right now. They can get all the way to number 1 with a lot of help. But, yes, they do need the Bills to lose.
All right.
Indy is the interesting one. That can cause a lot of havoc. If they were to lose to Jacksonville, obviously if they win, they get in. Jacksonville, not a very good team. But if they were to lose, Las Vegas would get in. And if the Colts were to lose to Jacksonville and the Raiders and Chargers tie, both the Raiders and Chargers would get in.
Well, that's great. I think one of the likely for sure. That Jacksonville's had a horrible season.
Yes.
And, I don't think Indy has any problem rolling over them.
Yeah. They did beat the Bills earlier in the season, so they're capable of a surprise once in a while, but it seems unlikely in this case.
Yeah, I think that they pretty much got their bags packed and their golf clubs out ready for the offseason there in Jacksonville.
I hate to see Las Vegas and the Chargers come down to a point where if they tie, they would both get in and then they just kind of lay down and maybe get a tie. That'd be great.
You can't have that on the last game. It has to be win or get in. That's what we're all looking for.
Yes, I hope so. And that leaves Pittsburgh needing Indy to lose, Baltimore needing Indy and Pittsburgh to lose as they hang on. Baltimore, it's amazing that they've lost 5 consecutive games, still alive, but barely. They're on the morphine drip right now.
Exactly. We just go ahead and tell those guys in Baltimore, you're on the board. Look for your next draft pick.
Pretty much. So your picks, maybe not the best. I think 2 or 3 last week. You had a couple that were bad luck. Who do you like this week?
Well, I'm going to stay with the Rams. I know that most people are saying San Francisco owns them. I think the Rams are going to establish themselves as we're going to get into the playoffs. We want this home field, and then, I think that they have a great chance. They got Matthew Stafford for a reason. They come up there and start lighting it up. It's going to be a good game. It's always a divisional battle, but I'm going to drop the 4. I also like Arizona over Seattle. This could be, Russell the Muscle last game out there in Seattle. But I think that Arizona is going to go in there and dominate just like they did last week against Dallas. New England owns Miami. I think that they don't have any problem going down into Southern Florida, dropping the 6.5. They might do a little scoreboard watching and watching that Buffalo Jet game. And if, they see that Buffalo has it in hand, they might, sit their players. But I think that they'll go ahead and cover that 7. And I like New Orleans because that's the team Tampa Bay does not want to play. And I would love to see New Orleans have another shot at Tom Brady and see if they can make it a trifecta this year against them. So I'm going to drop the 4 at Atlanta. And my last pick, the upset, Big Rich upset of the week, I'm taking Vegas. I love it. This is for my Aunt Peg and my nephew Corey. You guys know it. Your Vegas team just needs a chance. They're at home. No better place to be with John Madden passing to get a playoff spot against the Chargers.
I think you definitely need to lean towards the teams that need to win, and just listing them. Philadelphia has 12 players on COVID. They're not going to play hardly anybody. Dallas could move up. Kansas City definitely needs to win. Green Bay does not need to win, so maybe Detroit might be a good pick. New England needs to win. Indy needs to win. Buffalo needs to win. Tampa Bay, Tennessee, like you said, New Orleans, Cincinnati could move up. They don't feel like maybe they do need to win. And Arizona certainly at this point needs to win. That San Francisco game, obviously they need it more than LA. LA is in the playoffs. San Francisco probably needs to win to get in. So I'm leaning towards San Francisco in that. So let's move on to the NC2A football. What happened last week to the college football playoff?
Well, we went with the Dirty Dozen plus 2 picks we put on the site. I went 9, 5, and 1.
Oh, the picks.
So that was a great week for me. Won a lot of money. Lost it on Sunday, obviously, but I got the money in the bowl season. I went 17, 11, and 1 for 61%, 60.1% for the whole bowl season. So I did very well during that. Very happy about that.
That's pretty solid. Very good picking there.
Right. But the ones that I really missed was for the national championship. You know, we looked at the analytics show last time. We busted it down. We said that bet the overs and bet the dogs. It was trending that way. But when you're playing Alabama, Nick Saban, and Georgia just smashed Michigan, both those games were yawners, and they definitely just demolished, the Bearcats and the Wolverines.
Alabama got 301 yards rushing. Georgia scored the first 5 times they touched the ball. Again, the semifinal games, there's been like 16 of them. Only 3 have been close. The average margin of victory in these games is 21 points. I'll try to remember that next year.
Exactly. And, you always, how do you forget Nick Saban? And that goes for my pick here for the national championship. Kirby Smart, 0-4 against Nick Saban. The thing about that, all 4 games that he lost, he was leading at some point during that game. And 3 of those games, he was leading by double digits. And if you look at Vince Lombardi, when he said that winning's contagious and also is losing contagious, and it just seems like he just can't get over the hump. Alabama's getting 3. I love the Heisman. I love Nick Saban. Anytime he's a dog, I'm taking Nick Saban to be the national champions this year.
Yeah. I hate to say it. You might be right. I'm rooting for Georgia. I don't want Alabama to win. I'm not going to bet Georgia -3 because that means they have to win by 4 in order to win the game. I think I'm just going to bet the over on it just for the heck of it. Just because the last time they played went over, it was 41-24. And I know that's tough to go over in a Georgia game with their solid defense, but Alabama didn't seem to have too much trouble the last time they met up.
Yeah, the offensive line just was able to handle the line of scrimmage, and that big defensive line pretty much got manhandled last week. The last time they played in the SEC championship, Bryce Young looks good. They know they have to get to the quarterback, but they have some great players. You just watch that left tackle; it's just amazing out there for Alabama. I think they go ahead and win the line of scrimmage again and get it done.
Yeah, a couple other notes. Mississippi's Matt Corral got hurt. He was going to be the first or second pick in the draft next year. That was rough. And,
they have him going as the number 1 quarterback still. I mean, he had a lower leg injury. They're not saying it's anything major like an ACL or torn ligaments, anything like that. So I think that he'll be fine. I mean, he might mess with his, off-season workouts when he's having his pro days. But, he said there's no way he wasn't going to play. And I think everybody that loves football likes to see that camaraderie with his team. He said there's no way he's going to let it go down. And when he went out, unfortunately, my tears were falling because that was my chance. Definitely had Ole Miss picked in that bet.
Yeah, it certainly brings up the argument, play or don't play. You're going to the NFL next year. And you admire the guys who do play, but then when they get hurt, of course, everybody is going to start grilling them. What are you doing? But I'm glad he played. And,
Well, I think these bowl teams that are the committees for these bowl games, they're going to have to put that name, image, likeness out there for them to have some kind of incentive to play. Give them an insurance policy, maybe that if you get hurt, that would make up where you'd be drafted in the draft. If this bowl game did cause that, there's insurance companies that do that. So I think that they're going to have to make some financial, decisions on how to make that so these guys will come to play.
Yes, you definitely lost a few $1 million on that one play, but he'll have plenty of time to make plenty more. And I will say the best bowl game of the year had to be the Rose Bowl, that Ohio State-Utah game. It was pretty amazing.
Right, and that'll be my You Got Hosed section.
Oh, well, we can save some of that.
-3.5, and they were on the 1 yard line, Joe, and all they had to do is punch it in, and they kicked the field goal. They don't care about my 3.5.
Well, that's a preview of the You Got Hosed.
That's a preview.
That's a tease, they call it in the business. All right. And finally, what about this transfer portal situation? It just seems to me like it's getting really crazy.
Well, it is, and that it's not going away because it's definitely going to, you're eligible the next year. So I mean, it's not like it was a deterrent before. If you went to the transfer portal, you had to sit the season out and use a year of eligibility. Now you can just transfer at will. The big news this week was Caleb Williams. He leaves Oklahoma, and he hasn't said where he's going yet. But Caden Slavas, the quarterback for Southern Cal, just went to Pitt in the transfer portal. So that might be something that Caleb might be going with his coach, Lincoln Riley out there in Southern Cal. He might have something for him. The good news for you, Joe, for your Oklahoma Sooners is Dylan Gabriel from University of Central Florida. He's going to go be your quarterback next year. He's in the transfer portal. So you have somebody because Spencer Rattler left. Also, he's going to be playing for South Carolina. Max Johnson, if you looked at that LSU game, they didn't even have a quarterback to play in the Tax Slayer Bowl on Tuesday night against K-State. They had a wide receiver playing in the Wildcat. The guy hasn't played one college football snap, the guy they had in there, and because Max Johnson left for Texas A&M. So and also Yo Adrian Martinez for Nebraska, Scott Frost's quarterback, the one that he drafted when he first came there, he's leaving for Kansas State. So that's a little bit of a teaser next year. Kansas State looks really strong.
Thank you, Big Richard. We'll keep track of those transfers. There'll be plenty more. And thank you for your insight.
All right, Joe. Let's have a good national championship week and see what happens this final week of the NFL.
Well, maybe we'll get together Monday night and have a beer or something.
Sounds good.
Next up, we're going to talk about some pro hoops with our NBA analyst, Marc the Shark Sabella. How you feeling today, Marc?
I'm doing great, Joe. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. What's the big news in the NBA this week?
Well, I'm not sure if you heard this or not, but Kyrie Irving is slated to make his first start or play his first game of the year tonight against Indiana on the road. As we discussed last week, I think you remember the Nets organization approved and management approved him to be playing road games only because he still refuses to get the vaccination shots. And it seems like it's working out just well for both sides now. So he's going to start playing. Steve Nash doesn't know how much he's going to play, but he's going to get a bulk of the minutes primarily tonight and start to get his conditioning going, at least for the road games.
He should be a real shot in the arm for the lineup, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. They've been dealing with COVID absences and protocols, just like all the other teams have been. And it's definitely going to help out KD and Harden as to solidify that big three again that they were hoping would be on a full-time basis from the beginning of the year. But again, as we discussed last week, the irony was he actually got the Omicron virus while he was being approved for to play the road game. So he will be suited up and ready to go for tonight.
You didn't get my joke, Marc. I said he was going to be a real shot in the arm.
I didn't get it, Joe.
Oh, sorry.
That's great.
Okay.
You're more than a host. You're a comedian too.
I know how to steal jokes from other people too.
Well, thanks, Joe.
And I did hear something about maybe Klay Thompson coming back finally.
Yes, Klay Thompson has been practicing with the team, the Golden State Warriors, and he is ready to join and being cleared by the doctors right now. He is slated to start this weekend, and I think they're shooting for the Sunday game as his first appearance. This is a case where the rich are getting much richer. Golden State is still the number one team in the league, at least in my metrics. And Phoenix would be a close number two, but they're not getting a Klay Thompson. Golden State is getting the Klay Thompson. And from what I'm hearing in the reports, he's looking good and ready to return to his normal pre-injury self, as long as he gets his conditioning down and gets some NBA games under his belt. But yeah, he's ready to rock and make that team even stronger. So the Brooklyn Nets are right now number one in futures to win still, but Golden State is creeping up very close to them now. And I think with the news of Klay Thompson returning, that may push them back over to being the favorites in the league.
So, Marc, your picks last week went 6-2. You're absolutely on fire with two games, I believe, going off tonight that I think are on the website. What games do you feel now that are worth betting on for next week?
Well, next week, Joe, I have 10 games, as I've been normally doing. And what I'm going to do this week for you and the listeners is I'm going to start to highlight a couple of teams that we really don't talk a lot about. So I'm going to start doing that, I think, on a regular basis. And what I'm going to do is go down the list chronologically, and then I'll highlight a couple of the teams that we really don't talk about. So let's get the action started on tomorrow, January 6th. I have the LA Clippers 19-18, 7-8 on the road. And they beat Brooklyn in Brooklyn last week. They are going into Phoenix to play the Suns. The Suns, as you know, would be my 1B or number 2 team in the league. They're 16-4 at home. They're really tough to beat, although Golden State beat them on Christmas Day in Phoenix. That was their last loss. On New Year's Eve, Boston actually went into Phoenix and beat them. So those are the last 2 losses. I'm thinking Phoenix is going to be about 7-point favorites on that game. And so what I would do is take the money line with Phoenix. If the point spread is much lower than that, then yes, I probably would take Phoenix with the points, giving the points. On Friday, January 7th, that's my game of the week. I have Milwaukee, who's one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They are 25-13 overall, although they did lose to last place Detroit Pistons, which snapped a 6-game win streak last night. But they are creeping up on the rankings. I would say they're probably number 5 in the league right now in strength. And they are going into Brooklyn, who has actually lost the last 3 in a row at home. They're now actually 10-9 at home as a record. I'm thinking Brooklyn will give 4 to the defending champions, and I would take Milwaukee with as many points as you can get. Washington is 6-1 against the spread in the last 7 games. However, they're 9-12 on the road. They go in to play Chicago, who's now your new beast of the East. They have now supplanted Brooklyn as kind of the top team in the East. Chicago is now a best and first place in the conference, 24-10. DeMar DeRozan is their shooting forward and is just phenomenal. He's been shooting at a 49% overall clip and field goal percentage. and is averaging 28.4 points a game during that stretch. So I'm going to say Chicago is probably with their 5-game win streak at home, and they actually beat Washington on New Year's Day as a 2-point dog. I'm going to say Chicago is going to probably give 3.5 in this matchup, and you should take Chicago and give the points. Saturday, January 8th, I got Miami at Phoenix. Miami is starting to slow down a little bit. I would still say they're in the top 8 or 9 of the league in terms of power, but 11-11 on the road, 12-10 against the spread on the road. Butler is out with a sprained ankle right now. They're going into Phoenix, who I just said is 16-4 and pretty tough to beat at home. I'm guessing Phoenix is going to give 5 on that one. I would take Phoenix and give the points. Sunday, January 9th, you got Memphis playing one of the teams that we're not really talking about much right now, and for good reason, the Lakers. Westbrook, who's been kind of some talk about a possible trade, around the league. He actually had his first turnover-less night against Sacramento last night since 2016. So that rarely happens, Joe. But I'm thinking the Lakers will be giving 1.5 to Memphis, who is definitely one of the hot teams this year. Now that Jay Morant has come back, he has scored 30 points in 30-plus points in 3 straight games, and is shooting over 56% right now. So Memphis will probably be in LA giving 1.5. I would take Memphis with as many points as you can get. Cleveland is playing at Golden State. We already know everything about Golden State. Golden State will probably be giving about 8 points. Cleveland has lost the last 3 on the road. They have the injury with Ricky Rubio right now. They haven't been the same team since he's been injured. I would give the 8 points with Golden State. On Monday, January 10th, Milwaukee goes into Charlotte, another team we don't talk about a lot. And Charlotte is 19-19 overall, but they're 9-5 at home and 11-3 against the spread at home. However, I don't think with the COVID protocols, they actually have a full team right now. Not sure. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. Milwaukee goes in there with a 12-8 road record, 11-9 against the spread, 7-3 against the spread in the last 10. I'm guessing they're going to give 3 on that. I would take Milwaukee and give the points. Tuesday, 1-11, Golden State at Memphis. I've already talked about their records. Golden State, I'm projecting to be 5.5 point favorites, and I would actually take Memphis at home, who's on a 6-game home winning streak right now. They're 13-8 at home against the spread. Last 2, Wednesday, January 12th, Cleveland have lost the last 3 on the road. I just told you no Rubio, no win. They go into Utah, who's really tough. 14-7 at home, 8-12. However, they're 8-12-1 against the spread in their home games. But Utah will probably be 5-point favorites. I would take Utah. And then finally, Brooklyn is 13-3 on the road. They're actually better on the road than they are at home. Again, they will have Kyrie Irving playing 10-6 against the spread on the road against Chicago, who just had their 6-game home win streak snapped yesterday. But Chicago is the new beast in the East. I'm going to say Chicago is going to be 2-point favorites in that game. And I'm going to say Brooklyn. Take Brooklyn with the points as now that you have Kyrie adding to the big 3.
Marc, great information. I'm expecting your picks to continue to be on fire, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Joe. No pressure though, right?
You can have a slightly off week after last week.
Well, thanks, Joe. I appreciate your time.
Our next guest today is our college basketball handicapper, Ronnie McKinnon. How's it going today, Ronnie?
Joe, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Fantastic. What's been going on in the world of college hoops?
Well, Joe, we had back on the 1st, on Saturday, we had Baylor beaten, number one Baylor beaten Iowa State, number 8. That has actually put Iowa State out of the top 10. They were number 8, now they're number 11. On the 3rd, on Monday, we had number 23 Wisconsin beating Purdue, number 3 Purdue by 3. So that was kind of an upset there.
So that was a pretty big upset, without a doubt.
Totally.
So now Baylor, a unanimous number 1.
Correct. Yeah, they're still number 1. They still have Duke at number 2, then Purdue, Gonzaga, UCLA, of course, who hasn't played much with a lot of cancellations lately, and Kansas number 6, USC 7. Arizona went up 1 to number 8. Auburn is now the new number 9, as Iowa State was number 9. Actually, yeah, number 8. I had mentioned that, and now Michigan is at number 10 still.
So the top 7 were unchanged. In fact, I noticed the top 25 were the same, only they shuffled the teams a bit. So no new teams in the top 25 this week.
That's right. That's right. And so yeah, that's the top 10. Those were the those couple games that I had mentioned were the games that made some changes. I will be putting some picks on the website on Friday for some Saturday games. There's actually 18 men's games scheduled for this Saturday.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to seeing those on the website. How about on the women's side? What happened last week?
Well, on the women's side, actually, number 1, South Carolina lost to Missouri by 1 point, 70-69. Missouri not ranked in the top 25. South Carolina still is number 1 in the rankings, but that was a loss to a team that they didn't expect to lose to. We had number 10 Baylor actually lost to Kansas State, and Kansas State not being ranked either. Baylor was number 10. They have dropped out now down to number 14. And then we had Nebraska, the Cornhuskers, beating up on number 8 Michigan by 21 points. And Nebraska also not ranked in the top 25. So right now it's still South Carolina, Louisville, Stanford, Arizona, North Carolina State, Indiana, Tennessee, Michigan. There is a new number 9, Texas, and Maryland is number 10.
It was interesting to see South Carolina losing in overtime to Missouri. As you said, an unranked team, but it was overtime and on a last-second shot, and they still got to be number 1.
Yep, still got the number 1 seed. That's correct, as of right now. That's right. So
Baylor, that was 137 consecutive weeks. They were in the top 10. Now they're 14th, as you mentioned. Their coach, Kim Mulkey, tremendous coach, won national championships. She's now at LSU. She just left last year.
Right. I read she'll be starting in April for LSU, actually. And the new coach for Baylor, Ncaa Collin, actually was in the WNBA and the coach of the Atlanta Dream for 3 years. So she'll be the new head coach, is the new head coach for Baylor now.
Okay. Well, look out for LSU and watch them go up the charts because Kim Mulkey is an amazing coach.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And one final note, as of Sunday, more than 260 women's games postponed or canceled because of COVID. It's worse than the men's, for sure.
Yeah, it's, I know, there's not much they can do about it. We'll just be prepared to watch the games that we can.
Mm-hmm. Ronnie, of course, baseball is your favorite. You're a massive fan. Has there been any news lately in Major League Baseball?
Well, we had talked about Shohei Ohtani before, but he's just won all the awards. We know that he got the MVP. He was a unanimous decision, only the 19th in history to be voted unanimously. He also got Associated Press Male Athlete of the Year, Sporting News Major League Baseball Player of the Year, Sporting News Athlete of the Year. He's just racking up the awards. The Sporting News awards are voted by the players. But Ohtani just, 27 years old, again, a great year, 9-2 pitching record, 3.18 ERA, 156 strikeouts in 23 games. And at the plate, 46 home runs, 100 RBIs in 126 games. He stole 26 bases. He really fast runner, one of the fastest in the American League, if not the fastest. He scored 103 runs and also led the league in triples with 8. So just a pretty amazing career. He's the 29th player in history to win both the MVP and the Rookie of the Year. So it's and only the 7th in history to do both those things. So
You wouldn't happen to see who finished second or third or at any of that voting, did you?
I did not. I looked through, but I did not make any notes of that.
Yeah, I tried to look it up myself. It's like a non-subject, like where's the actual voting? I would have liked to see who he was up against for the awards.
Right. Yeah. Actually, let me make a note. When I also said the 7th player in history, that was to be a unanimous MVP and Rookie of the Year winner. So
Right.
Pretty impressive stuff.
And our final subject, the ongoing story, the current lockout we're experiencing. Is there any movement at all?
No, Joe, there's been no negotiating sessions. There's none scheduled between the MLB and the Players Association. They met twice here in this last month, but nothing going on. It was strictly a non-core and not about economic issues, which is the biggest thing. So there's no movement at this point, and we'll see what happens the rest of this month.
Well, next month is pitchers and catchers, right? So
That's right. Yeah, that's when they usually show up about the end of the first week of February, but we'll see what happens.
Ronnie, thank you for your info.
Joe, great. Thanks for having me.
Our final guest today is our huge hockey fan, Gator Gates. How goes it today, Gator?
Oh, I'm great, Joe. Thank you for asking.
So what's happening lately in the National Hockey League?
Okay, well, Saturday was kind of a big day, Joe. They had the outdoor game in Minnesota where St. Louis won 6-4, and that game had started off at -5 degrees and ended up at -7 degrees at the end. So that did go down as the coldest game in NHL history. Another one on Saturday again, Carolina scored 4 goals in 3 minutes and 57 seconds to beat Columbus 7-4. Now, it was 4-2, and Carolina was losing at the time that did happen. And the other thing is, we got to give a shout out to Todd McCollum, who's the Los Angeles Kings coach. He got his 500th win as well on Saturday. So Saturday was a pretty big day for everybody.
Well, a big story last week was COVID. How has COVID affected the league in the last week or so?
Well, Joe, we're up to 92 games postponed now, and I'm sure there'll be more announced later. But yeah, 92 as of right now.
Well, I will say it hasn't affected your picks a whole lot, Gator. You went an amazing 8-1. You're scorching hot, and considering they're getting players off the streets because of COVID, it makes it really amazing. And I think the listeners need to know, what are your picks for this week?
Yeah, Joe. Well, thank you so much, Joe. That was really nice. Yeah, I went 8-1, and the only game that I lost was Edmonton over Islanders 2-3 in a shootout. But this week, Joe, I have 3 games starting on Thursday. I have Anaheim over Detroit, Colorado over Winnipeg, and Tampa Bay over Calgary. Friday, I only have 1 game, and that's Carolina over Calgary again. Now, Calgary just got beat last night against Florida, And I just think they're going to have a really bad week. They got to go to Tampa Bay and they got to go to Carolina. Now, Saturday, I have 3 as well. I have Vancouver over Ottawa, Nashville over Arizona, and Vegas over Chicago. Now, Thursday, I got 3 as well, and that would be Tampa Bay over Buffalo, Carolina over Philly, and my last pick, I have San Jose over Detroit. Now, Detroit just beat the Sharks last night 6-2, and I think when the Detroit goes down to the Shark Tank, I think that the Sharks are going to get their revenge.
All right, so hopefully people are going to take those. What happened in the Bettable World Junior Hockey Championships?
Okay. Oh, well, the IIHF canceled the World Junior Championships last Wednesday due to COVID-19. Now, there is still talk that they're going to start back up in the summer, but we're just going to have to wait and see about that. But before they canceled it, Joe, Canada won 11-2 over Austria a week ago Tuesday. And in that game, and I want you guys to remember this name, Connor Bedard. Bedard. He's a 16-year-old that became the youngest player to score 4 goals in a World Junior Hockey Championship game. Now, he joins the list with Mario Lemieux, Simeon Gagne, and Braden Sheen, and he's also on the 7th 16-year-old to ever play for the Canadiens, and that puts him on a list with Sidney Crosby and Wayne Gretzky. Now, the best that Wayne did, Joe, was 3 goals against Czechoslovakia back in 1977.
Definitely a player to watch.
Yes, sir. I agree with that.
So for our golf fans that out there, the Tournament of Champions this weekend, the season kind of kicking off here in January. Can you give us a little bit of a preview?
Sure, Joe. Phil Nicholson is going to be in that Century Tournament of Champions this weekend in Kapalua, Hawaii. At the age of 50, he qualified by winning the PGA Championship at Kiowa Island, making him the oldest major champion in history. Now, he has a 21-year absent from this tournament, but he will be joined with Matsuyama, the Masters champion, John Rahm, the U.S. Open winner, and Colin Morikawa, the British Open winner as well. Now, the field will also have Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, but they will not have the Wells Fargo champion, Rory McIlroy. He will be on the European Tour in the Middle East. Now, Joe, last year's winner, Harris English, he won at a 25 under par, and he earned $1,340,000. Plus, he got 500 points for the FedEx point. So, wow, what a way to start a year.
Yeah, whoever wins that is going to start off definitely running. Our final subject, the Australian Open tennis tournament set to begin in a couple of weeks. Is number 1 Novak Djokovic actually going to play?
Oh, very good question, Joe. That seems to be changing all the time we speak here. But what I got is that the Australian Open is going to be on January 17th to the 30th in Melbourne. And there was some question if the world's number 1 Novak Djokovic was going to be there. Now, he did decline to reveal his vaccination status and was unsure if he was going to compete in the tournament. He had some concerns over the Australians' quarantine rules, I suppose. But Novak did apply for a medical exemption and was granted after a review process that included 2 medical expert panels. Now, that decision received backlash among the Australians, and today we find out that his visa does not permit exceptions. So Djokovic has won 9 Australian titles. That does include 3 in a row. And he is tied with 20 majors with Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal on the all-time list, Joe.
Yes, Nadal will be there. Federer has had a couple surgeries on his knee. Isn't going to be there. We don't know if he's ever going to be back for a major again. As far as the Australians are concerned, they're going to be pretty strict on this, I'm going to guess. And, they don't care really if Novak's going to play or not, I don't think. And they're probably thinking Novak, go back to Serbia and get shot. Why not?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
vaccinated is what I meant.
Right on, Joe. Yeah, I agree with you. The Australians, it's different down there.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, Gator, we appreciate your information.
Oh, thank you so much, Joe. I so appreciate you guys.
But we do have some inconvenient information. Novak Djokovic did have a vaccination card, but it had the name Antonio Brown scratched off of it.
God. Yeah. Well, who's going to be next to use that card, Joe?
Sponsored by MXE Media. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time for the moments we've all been waiting for. The stories that make us furious about bets that appeared surely to be winners, but in the end, something went horribly wrong and they ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So, Big Rich, do you have a You Got Hosed story this week?
Well, yes, I do. I have the first Rose Bowl game on January 1st of 2022. What a great Rose Bowl. After Ncaa set the bowl record with 3 touchdowns, 346 yards. All of a sudden, the quarterback from Utah goes down with rising. I had Ohio State -3.5. They were up by 7. He goes down, and they bring in the backup quarterback who's never even took a snap. B. Barnes comes out there and throws for 2 for 2 for 23 yards, throws a touchdown, had a 4th down play, 3rd down play. He looked like Joe Montana out there, ties the game up. Ohio State marches right back down the field, gets to the 1-yard line. Instead of punching it in and giving me my 3.5-point victory, kicked the field goal, and I lost by a hook. So I got hosed.
Yes, you did. So, Gator, do you have a You Got Hosed story this week?
Yeah, Joe, a lot of handicappers, they like to take a team that they're sure is going to win, and they like to put it on just to raise the payout on their ticket a little bit. Well, on Saturday, the Brooklyn Nets were that team. They were at a -900 over the LA Clippers. Now, LA was limping into New York with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard both out. Now, after Brooklyn gave up 71 points in the second half, the Clippers won 120 to 116. Now, Kevin Durant said, "We relaxed too much, and like Coach Steve Nash said, we didn't deserve to win this game. We came in here with a effed up attitude, thinking that we could just walk in here and get a W." Now, Kevin also added that if you don't feel like crap after this game, then you got to look yourself in the mirror. So, if you had the Nets last Saturday, Joe, I would have to say that you did get hosed.
Yeah, with that effort, I would have to say so. -900.
Yeah,
That's bad.
correct. Now, just for the listeners, that means you have to put up $90 to win $10.
And then you lost.
And you lost. Yeah, Joe, did you get hosed this week at all?
Yes, I feel like me and all other Dallas Cowboy fans got hosed last Sunday. Dallas was losing by 3, using their timeouts, trying to get the ball back. With less than 3 minutes left in the game, Arizona's Chase Edmonds runs the ball and fumbles, but the referee closest to the play calls Edmonds first down by contact. Dallas didn't have a timeout left, so they couldn't challenge the incorrect call. Arizona proceeded to run out the clock and win the game. It's tough enough to beat the other team, let alone the other team and the refs at the same time. Besides the blown fumble call, the Cowboys were penalized 10 times for 88 yards as opposed to Arizona's 7 for 45. As far as the Cowboys' last chance to win the game went, we got hosed.
Yeah, I would have to say you did get hosed, Joe.
You got hosed.
So that's all for this week's show. I'd like to thank my guests, Big Richard Martin, Ronnie McKinnon, Marc the Shark Sabella, and Gator Gates. Our producer, our engineer, our editor, our junior IT tech, Cade Martin, and everyone for listening. We'd like you to visit our Covering the Field website to check out our many articles and our picks of the day and week. We'd like to remind you listeners to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Give us your feedback, your You Got Hosed moments, and any other comments you'd like to give us. And find us on Twitter at Covering Field. Hopefully you all enjoyed the show, and you'll hear us again next week on another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field, a CM World Services and the Sage production.